Bienvenidos a The Stanley Parable. El final nunca es el final, el final nunca es el final, el final está cargando.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Bueno, comenzamos con la parábola de Stanley. Parece que no hay nadie en la oficina.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Podría ser.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oop. Hola. Definitivamente desierto.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
A la izquierda dices.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Consejos para resolver una disputa. Ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Es lo que voy a decir, pero...
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. How did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
La felicidad de Stanley se basaba en que en vez de recibir órdenes por un monitor, ahora la recibía en su cabeza.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Han dicho que entramos aquí, ¿no? Pues entramos aquí.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Joder.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Por teles no será. No son pequeñitas, precisamente.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
¿Qué número éramos? Ya no me acuerdo. $400 y algo. Estaríamos por ahí. No veo nada raro por ahí. Bueno.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Pues hala. Ya hemos terminado el juego, ya acabamos aquí, ¿no? Ya.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ah,
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
¿por qué no?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
La máquina no funciona.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
¿Está perdiendo la paciencia el narrador o es cosa mía?
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
¿De verdad? No sé si nos están poniendo a prueba o realmente era el último mensaje, pero bueno, por agilizar esto un poco, vamos a avanzar, ¿os parece?
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
A la izquierda dices. Venga, va.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Venga, va. Vamos a hacerte caso.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
El marido de las escobas promete. Hay una escoba.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't
yo me
even
quedo
doing
aquí.
anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Exacto.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
No sé, quiero ver hasta dónde llegas con la narración, si me quedo aquí encerrado. En el
You do
rinconcito.
realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If
Correcto.
I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out.
¿Quién
It
sabe?
didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
El primer final de momento es el normal, el seguir todas las órdenes.
Maybe to you this is somehow
Que sales fuera de la oficina después de desactivar la máquina de control mental. Bienvenido, por cierto, casual.
The broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite.
I hope your friends find this concerning.
Sí, sí. A ver qué tiene más paciencia, tú o yo. Uy, ya comienza a faltar y todo.
Because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Hostia, no me digas. Así que estamos todo el día delante del ordenador para pagarnos putas y drogas, bien, ¿eh?
You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Bueno. Primero alguien tendrá que encontrar mi cadáver frío, ¿no? Oh, aquí se acaba el tema, no lo sé. Bueno, Morgo 1 ha fallecido, entra Morgo 2.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board.
Gracias, muy buenas.
You can't do any worse than the person who
¿Que no?
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Vamos, que un mono te sirve. Vale, vale, vale. A ver si es verdad. Válido, sí. Venga, va. ¿No? Me da que el narrador ya se ha cansado, ¿eh? Bueno, venga. Dejaremos el armario de las escobas.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Pero bueno, ahora somos un mono. Así que vamos a seguir las órdenes un poco mal. ¿Parece?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Por supuesto que no. No es como si tuviese una voz en la cabeza diciéndome qué hacer. ¿Verdad?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Venga, vamos a probar la típica contraseña. 1, 2, 3, 4. Me he equivocado. Bueno, somos un mono, así que es normal.
2845.
No.
Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination.
Toca sacar la combinación a fuerza bruta, ¿no? ¿Os parece?
For God, But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself.
Pues mira,
and
lo he
Stanley got
conseguido.
the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
O el narrador se le han hinchado las pelotas, uno de dos. Más bien lo segundo. Bueno, pues nada.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Más tarde.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Cuando el juego se ha reiniciado antes hemos perdido la memoria, según el narrador, porque aquí ya hemos estado.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
Me he olvidado de mirar
Each bore the number of an employee.
qué oficina era la mía exactamente.
Stanley's
Diría que es la que tengo en el centro de la
the
pantalla, justo
lives
encima de la
of
luz
so many
roja.
individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally
Está la puerta cerrada, yo la he dejado
place
abierta.
where freedom meant nothing.
No creo que tenga relevancia eso, espero.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
De eso nada. Eso es lo que hemos hecho antes. Ahora decido yo cambiar papeles. Vamos a controlar a todo el mundo. ¿Os parece?
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Ahora
After
controlo a todo
they
el
kept
mundo,
you
¿no?
enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for
Exacto.
yourself. Is that what you wanted?
Control.
Control?
Claro que sí.
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do.
Bueno,
You were
veremos.
supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me.
¿Hemos visto el 1, el 2?
What all this means.
Cinco.
I barely know where to start.
¿Dónde está el 4?
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
Hombre,
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them.
Mariella.
I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left.
Ahí
But
está el
I'm
4.
enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell
¿Dónde
with
estaba el
it.
3?
I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why
Gracias.
not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time
¿Dónde
doesn't
estaba el
fly on
3?
trees.
Aquí.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off?
Pues como puedes ver, sí, eso es lo que estoy intentando
Running from
hacer.
button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That
Vale,
this
no,
video
secuencia
game
numérica no
can be
sirve.
beaten? One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made.
Así que lo estás disfrutando, narrador.
This isn't
La
a
madre que te dio.
challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stan.
4-2-7
That's
somos,
30
vale.
seconds
Mira, ya
you
sé el
have
número.
left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count.
Vete a la mierda.
It's all the same to me.
Aunque,
All a
coño,
part of the journey.
si lo apago ahora,
And believe
quizá
me, I will be
¿llegaré?
laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the
No
moment
creo.
we fade in
¿Verdad que no?
until the moment I
No voy a
say
llegar, ¿verdad? Ni de coña. Bueno, oye, si hay que morir de una explosión, que sea nuclear al menos, ¿no?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to... Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
A ver. No me puedo tirar.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
Pues
door of
parece
the
que
red
no.
mind control facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
No voy a entrar, señorita, en el debate filosófico de si el sino de alguien está determinado o no está realmente vivo. Aunque esto... curioso, ¿no? Layout de la oficina. El ordenador de Stanley. Cuadritos. Sí que me parece particular es que hay un museo del propio juego en el juego. Ahí ya toma easter egg, ¿no? Mira, los botoncitos de antes. Los que no hemos conseguido desactivar la bomba nuclear con ellos. Los créditos. Hay un poquito de todo, veo. Que va Brighton, el narrador. Vale. Vale, el del primer final. Es muy difícil recordar que es arriba y abajo. Vale, vale. Supongo que por ahí salimos. ¿Qué cojones es esto? Zona de guerra. Ya damos la vuelta. Vale, a ver. A ver, me decís que de aquí hay dos finales alternativos. A ver, técnicamente sí, pero es que son muy similares. Es depende cómo vuelvas al ciclo, básicamente. Dejas que la cosa pase o no. Vamos, diría que cuentan ambos como el ending del museo, sin más. ¿Dónde estaba la puerta que he visto que estaba ahí lo de... al fondo Stanley Parable? Que era para irse para seguir. Por ahí. Aquí estás, leñe. Bien, sigamos.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Bueno, son dos caras de la misma moneda. Sin narración
But listen
o
to
sin
me.
jugador.
You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Este sería un ending, el otro sería dejarnos matar. Aunque no hemos hecho la liberación auténtica, sería cerrar el juego. Pero bueno. ¿Qué pasaría si Stanley no sale?
Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Uy. La oficina ha cambiado.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vale, no podemos volver.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Esto es como una orden, ¿no? O sea que...
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no
Exacto.
one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Claro que sí. Bueno. Ahora vamos por una variación del
All
final
of
que
his
hemos visto.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No sé por qué me da que no, ¿eh?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Ya,
Stanley knew it
narrador, ya sé
perfectly
de
well.
por dónde voy yo. Tú
Perhaps he
tranquilo.
wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ese es mi objetivo principal.
Yes, truly a
soberbio.
room worth admiring. It
Huele-
had really been worth the detour after all,
No sé,
just to spend a few
como
moments here in
hábitos,
this immaculate,
charla banal,
beautifully
café.
constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Va a ser que no.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Esto parece peligroso. Antes me he matado. No.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Sorry to break it to you, Stanley, but that lift isn't coming back. You'd best
No
either
jodas.
get comfortable right here on this platform, or test your luck by jumping to the floor below. You know what? Looking at it now, it's not that far to the bottom floor. I bet you can make it.
Que el narrador me recomiende tirarme. No,
Come on. I'm sure you'll survive the jump. Don't tell me you're scared. That's not the Stanley I know. Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
Porque suenas como una colegiala. No, no. La plataforma se queda ahí. Pues nada. A ver. No, no podría subirme por aquí y bajar por las cajas. En esas cajitas es un poco más blandito.
Whoops.
Va a ser que no.
Looks like I was wrong. How clumsy of me. Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
¿De qué coño está hablando ahora? ¿Que alguien me sigue?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood true happiness.
¿Ah, sí?
Then the feeling went away, and he felt sad again.
Oh.
Then it came back, and lingered for a minute or two.
Oh.
Now it's only half there. Just a kind of, tingle. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Venga, ahora no nos vamos a
Stanley
suicidar.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, Stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Si no lo cojo. Es por llevarle a la contraria, sin más. Venga, va. Ya, pantallas blancas cegadoras, coño.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
¿Y si no quiero?
Sorry,
Hostia.
but you're in my story now.
¿Me vas a poner muros ya directamente? O sea, ya... Ya no estás rompiendo la cuarta pared, la estás levantando, sin más. Vale, vale.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
¿Socorro? ¿Un psicópata me ha secuestrado?
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Me dio un síncope.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Es todo el rato así. A ver, pues sí, lo principal de esto es la interacción con el narrador. Es básicamente un poquillo la dicotomía de lo que te dicen que tienes que hacer para avanzar la historia con lo que quieres tú hacer.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he
Siendo
entered the
esto
door
lo más emblemático, la elección inicial, la puerta. Para efectos prácticos es como un juguete esto. Es saber qué posibilidades puedes joder para llevarle la contraria. Rollo el armario de las escobas. Ahora la tapia para que no volvamos a entrar. Hijo de puta.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
¿Yo?
office.
Aquí nos desviamos.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment.
Vamos en un bucle, ¿no?
Reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Buena pregunta.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Va a ser que no.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Vale, ahora cambiamos sexos.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Llamar a una ambulancia o la policía, no, ¿verdad? Bueno, otro ending.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
¿De qué narices hablas? Si está como siempre. Ahora cojonaría mucho si por el rabillo del ojo apareciese algo, ¿sabes? En plan, sea una persona, una criatura, lo que sea. Que de golpe se vuelva un juego de terror. Ahí estás mirando la ventana y justo delante.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Bueno, ahora tenemos que ir hasta
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might
al
find an
despacho
answer
del
there.
jefe
Coming
y
to a
entrar y salir
staircase,
rápido
Stanley
antes de que
walked
se cierre la
upstairs
puerta.
to his boss's office.
Lo dicho, entramos y me voy. ¿No?
Here's the door.
Bueno, y ahora hay que volver hasta la oficina de Stanley. La verdad es que no me dio por intentar esto nunca. No lo vi la primera vez que lo jugué. Y este es el final que no había visto hasta ahora. Te estás marchando. ¿Eh? ¿La cápsula de escape? ¿En serio? En la planta 760. ¿De todo esto el narrador no dice nada? Qué raro. No se ve ni un carajo, joder. Qué oscuro. ¿What? Sin más. Vale, necesitaba al narrador que estaba muy calladito, por lo que se ve. Vale. Vamos a intentar el de salir. Sé que era en una de estas ventanas. Y era haciendo clipping con el terreno de alguna forma. Con las escaleras, digo, con las sillas o tal. Es que no me acuerdo cómo coño se trepaba. Una de 4, 3, 4. Vale. Ahí lo tenemos. Ahora. ¡Uy!
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Vamos allá otra vez. Uy. Vale, espera. Este es uno especial.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No me dejáis abrir la consola, ¿no? Para ponerlo de Bark. Mierda. ¡Ah! Bueno, pues... un final. De los más absurdos, pero bueno.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered.
Esto ya volvería a ser lo mismo, ya que estoy. Quiero ver el de la ventana otra vez. Pero ya tenemos un código para...
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
He subido aquí antes, ¿no? ¿Qué pasa? Ahora no puedes... Vale.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along.
¿Va a ser exactamente el mismo
He
diálogo?
praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
Soy muy tozudo, ¿eh? Tú verás.
There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
Me quedo con el del no, de momento. Pero dime por qué no he puesto los subtítulos en esta zona. Bueno, va.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
El primero. Inicio. Vale, el siguiente era el 423.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¿Vale? Ahora el de la secretaria.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
¿Vale? En principio, este tenía que
Just a
funcionar.
step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Vale, ahora me ha dejado. ¿A base de machacar el botón? No, o sea, ¿tenía ahí una colisión rara con un artifact o algo? Botones. Botones everywhere. Sí. Ah. Tiqui, 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 tiqui. El rojo. Y ahora, este. Otro rojo. Y otro. Y otro. De arriba. ¡Ay! Mierda, he tocado un naranja. ¡Ay! A ver si los alineo. Bueno. Supongo que esto es el cielo de Stanley. ¡Hala! Hecho. Lo que hay que ver.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
¿Al reiniciar el juego?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his... This was not the
Nope.
correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew
El
it
armario de las
perfectly well.
escobas estará abierto ahora.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Va a ser que no.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Vale.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Bueno.
No, not the
Voy a
right.
decir se comprende,
Why
pero...
would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Así te aclaras, ¿eh?
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
¿Exactamente qué hay detrás de la persiana esa? Es más, hay espacio aquí suficiente para persiana. En fin. Uy.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
Spoilers.
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley,
¡Nos hemos cargado el
did you change
juego!
anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
Eso digo
It was
yo.
right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Vale. La puerta a la izquierda, ¿no? El arquitecto de aquí se lo ocurrió, ¿eh? Joder.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
A ver, informática reinicial funciona normalmente, ¿eh? Todo será cuestión de probar.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
A ver si es verdad.
Okay,
Va a ser que no.
it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Bueno, pues venga, media vuelta.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Claro, claro.
Oh, no, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart.
Venga, vamos a intentarlo otra vez.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Bueno, espero que no tenga problemas con el copy, ¿no? En la taberna. Porque por ahí pasa la línea. Y sí. La línea amarilla del pegote del suelo es esta. Oh, solitario. ¡Ah! Puta silla. Si solo tuviese manos, pero bueno, como no tengo ni siquiera pies, no sé ni cómo camino.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward.
Oye, ya me estás pidiendo aquí hacer grindeos en la pared. Dame un skateboard o algo, ¿no?
The very manifestation of the nature of life itself. Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
¿Qué Monty Python es este momento? ¿Qué quieres que te diga? Y por el techo.
Wait, cut the music.
No, hombre, no, que me gusta. ¿Qué le he hecho? ¿Este?
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Vale. Roger. Un helecho. ¿Qué quieres que cuente las hojas o...? Helecho. El hecho, hecho. Venga, vámonos. ¡Uy!
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you.
Línea mala.
Everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Venga. Ready, go.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right?
¿Tenía banda sonora y todo?
Make up our own story. Something exciting,
No sé.
daring, mysterious.
¿Ese salto otra vez por la ventana?
This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Venga. Pero me gustaba la musicota.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Arquitectura imposible.
Go wild.
Bien.
Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
No, línea. No me traiciones.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's
Me siento como un
origin.
hámster.
So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Me da que está cerrado. ¿What? ¿Y esto?
Oh, hold up, what's this?
Ending de la confusión.
The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? that really how all this goes?
Al final, el narrador se va y morimos.
Determined? So now, according to the schedule,
Spoilers.
I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination, so I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
¡Hostias! ¡Ah! Joder. Puto ruido de mierda.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Espero que no os hayáis quedado sordos como yo.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Uf.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Joder. ¿Qué coño ha sido ese ruido, hostia?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room.
¡Mua! Manufactura de la buena.
Stanley had taken this detour on his way to... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Nope.
Please. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Well, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Venga, va. Te la doy.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the
Deja
red
que me
door.
lo piense. Venga, va. Te voy a hacer caso. Voy a darte la oportunidad.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me.
¿Sí?
Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get
Otro
somewhere
qué?
that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you
Sí,
see that it's
una rata en un
killing
laberinto.
Stanley? I wanted to stop.
De momento, mal,
We
¿eh?
would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Me alegro por ti. Pero me has hecho una promesa y no estás cumpliendo, ¿eh? sé, podríamos, yo qué sé, ver una peli de chill, aunque sea. Podrías mostrarme cualquier cosa, pero colorcitos.
No, wait. Where are you going? Right. Where were we?
¿Es verde Matrix? El verde ya lo tenemos. Bueno, no es la tonalidad, un poco más oscuro, pero... ¿No? Me aburro.
Oh no! Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Venga. Una última oportunidad. Muéstrame algo decente. Lo que sea.
Good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there, hmm?
Si entrecierro los ojos... Nah, tampoco. Ay.
No! What did we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here. You heard me before, didn't you? You will die! What about this isn't getting through to you? Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
De verdad de la buena. Esta es la última que te dejo.
There. See? This is what you want.
Yo
This
no.
is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Cuéntame una historia o algo, yo qué sé, eres un narrador, ¿no?
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. No. No, no. What do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Ya te he dicho el qué. Y no me haces caso. Dale por la cabeza. Uy.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do... My God. Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back. Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
La caja ha estado siempre aquí. Vale.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. It was something, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope. Quiero ver qué hay en la puerta azul.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nope.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far.
No te voy a negar que elementos RPG me gustarían.
Take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version.
A ver,
Would you
le
say
falta
that
trabajo.
the game benefited from allowing you more choices?
Pero,
Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
pero, te estás desviando de la norma y eso ya me gusta. Tiene potencial, pero claro, necesita
now
trabajo.
this is useful. You didn't like it, but you didn't totally hate it
Exacto.
either. You enjoyed it.
Lo estás intentando al
Perhaps is a great
menos.
term. It didn't cause you excruciating pain. Big steps we've made here today, Stanley. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's
Veamos.
take a look.
¿Leaderboards? Son los... La madre que parió. Leaderboards para un juego como este. ¿Cuántas puertas han abierto? La coña sería que estas estadísticas fuesen reales. Que no lo son ni de coña. Pero, hostia, molaría. Bueno, venga. A ver qué nos ha puesto aquí.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors?
Sí.
Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
No será la primera vez que hago de tester, así que encantado de la vida. A ver.
In this game,
No, por Dios.
the baby crawls left
No, por
towards
Dios.
danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
¿Sabéis la coña? Que realmente hay un final. Si haces esta mierda durante 2 horas, decide el tío actualizar y meterte también un cachorrito de perro. Y no solo tienes que salvar a un bebé, sino un perro durante 2 horas más. En total, 4 putas horas. No. Ese no lo vamos a dar. No, es que no tengo tanta paciencia. A ver, el ruido tampoco ayuda tanto.
I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. It's over.
Que es solo el primer
Thank you
prototipo.
for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease
¿por qué
the
no?
pain. Let's see.
Así tendrás un punto de perspectiva más fresco.
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Venga. ¿A qué vamos a jugar? Me cago en tu puta madre. ¿Me dices
Well,
Minecraft?
Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough?
Yo tampoco quiero.
Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here, no, here, and then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course, and just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. Ah, but you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside
Soberbio.
and make yourself comfortable.
Venga.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if...
Hacer una celda de prisionero. Sí.
That's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
No quiero. ¿Puedo cerrar la puerta? No me dejan. No quiero jugar a Minecraft. En mi vida he jugado a Minecraft. No quiero jugar a este juego. Ah, con la leche.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
Estás de coña, ¿no?
Oh, no, 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 no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
¿Qué coño ha sido eso? ¿Se ha oído un rugido al lado? Bueno, ya no estamos en Minecraft, ya... ¡Hombre! ¡Portal!
Yes, I don't even
Mola,
know
mola.
what this game is, but I love it.
Ya somos 2.
You, trapped in a glass box with no way out,
Bueno.
listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go
Eso es
find
bueno.
out what the
¿Qué
hell
tal si
this
lo
is.
miramos un poquito? A ver.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games. and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity. I don't need your advice. I don't need your ratings. And I certainly don't need the validation of a man whose job is to push buttons.
Técnicamente has descrito un buen porcentaje de los trabajos de hoy en día.
To the world. And perhaps every now and then I'll think back to a man named Stanley who was objectively wrong in every decision he ever made. The thought won't last long. Goodbye, Stanley. Good luck with your work, and I sincerely hope that everyone lives happily ever after.
Buena suerte con lo tuyo. ¡Yay! Quinto portal. Se me ha apagado la radio. Bueno, la dejaremos ahí. Escondida, por si acaso. No veo un movimiento. ¡Hostia! Bueno. Supongo que llevamos las botas suspensoras. Copyright. Patentadas por Aperture y por eso no nos estamos metiendo unos posponcios de cuidado al caer. El narrador se ha pirado de verdad, ¿eh? Bueno. ¿Alguien ve algo? Vale.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion.
Me he dejado barba, me encontré un traje, y lo que me falta es una palanca.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way.
Once
this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Sí, yo también. Vale. ¿Cómo era la línea de comandos? Pachetear. Aunque también hay otra línea de comandos que me interesa, que sería bark, que antes la hemos visto. No. Fuera barra diagonal bark. No me acuerdo. A ver. Barra bark. No. Bark. Vale, no. Es esto. Bark. Pues tampoco. Que representa que con eso tenía que funcionar.
All of his co-workers were gone.
¿Qué me estoy perdiendo aquí? Me están saliendo aquí las últimas. Bueno, pues nada. Oh,
Stanley, this is me being serious. In fact, this is my serious room. It's where I come to be serious. That table is the most serious table I could find. I looked at many, many tables, hundreds of tables. It's possible I looked at over 1,000 tables. I honestly don't know. The specific number isn't as important as the understanding that of all tables I looked at, this one is the most serious. I relate this story to impress upon you the extent to which this is the most serious room I have, which is why I brought you here. You just tried to activate server cheats, which of course runs the risk of breaking the entire game.
bueno, depende de lo que
You've
haga.
got no respect for the strict order of scripted narrative events, and I just can't have that. It's time to get serious, Stanley. No jokes, no games. Outside of this room, I might be more tolerant of those things, but now we're in the room. Which is why I'm subjecting you to the most serious punishment I can think of.
A ver.
100 billion trillion years standing here in the serious room. Perhaps after that, we can talk about the severity of your actions and whether you've learned anything. But until then, serious room, go.
Y yo creo que quería ver un ending porque tardaba 4 horas y ahora vamos a estar aquí unos cuantos billones de años, ¿no? Bueno, pues...
Whoa, did we not have the talk? Are we not in the serious room this very moment? Did I not tell you how many tables I looked through? I'm going to be conservative and say it was somewhere in the tens of thousands of tables. Any reasonable person would say I spent an absurd amount of time doing nothing but looking at tables, and I genuinely considered each one too. I took a hell of a lot of notes. I kept the notes in a different room. That room is less serious than this one. It's more of a notes room. Again, the point of this story is to convey how serious I feel this cheating issue is. And I'm sure you'll agree with me once you've fulfilled your new punishment. Infinity years in the serious room. I generally have trouble reading human emotions, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you're devastated by this crippling new punishment. As well you should be. It's the most serious I could think of. Can you get more serious than that? No, you can't. Don't try. Still no effect. The problem is clearly the serious room. It isn't serious enough.
La habitación es el problema.
I apologize. I'm going to the store to look through more tables. Hopefully I find one that conveys how wrong what you're doing is.
Sorpréndeme.
Now, where did I put those notes?
¿Ya está? ¿No va a decir nada más? Nada más. Bueno. Ok, a ver, uno sería esto.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that.
Quiero ver la oficina así, es que no sé por qué se ha cerrado la puerta sola. Espera. Salgamos. Facepunch. ¿Sí?
All of his co-workers were
Esto es
gone.
otro rollo, ¿no?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Creo yo que la habitación de empleados ahora estará soberbia.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes,
soberbio.
A room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour.
Bueno, pues nada. Chorradas aparte. Bueno, vamos con el final compuesto.
Were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Para mí este es el final más... No es el canónico, pero yo lo considero como tal. Aparte, mira, es el único que tiene los créditos, ¿sabes? Así que ni tan mal. Vamos allá.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Yep.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Tiene la luz que no veo el enchufe, ¿vale?
That's her, Stanley. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone?
Así es.
That wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
¿De qué coño estás hablando?
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here,
si tengo que elegir una de las dos, supongo que la primera, ¿no?
At no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Oye, si te digo que estoy más interesado en 2 más 4 igual a pez.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time,
sustituido
your
por una
instructor
depresión
will
de caballo,
guide you
sí.
in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please. Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story.
Sí, sí.
That
Me ponen las
story
barandillas, no
would be
puedo
sense at all.
saltar.
We just need to get you home
Solo puedo
as soon as
agacharme.
possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Qué putada, narrador, que te hayas dado cuenta de que no soy Stanley. Que tienes que entretener a un ser humano, no a una IA que pulsa botones. Aunque bueno, técnicamente yo estoy pulsando botones, aunque sea para avanzar.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that?
Uy.
Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
No quiero. Aquí mola. Está todo roto. Bueno. Ahora sí. Por la izquierda.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that you... My story. You've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out
Por
of
los
that?
loles.
What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do?
No
Even
sé.
if there were a way to
¿Puedo iniciar?
continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to.
Yep.
I have to.
Yep.
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish.
Bienvenido.
With you. You, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Narrador, ¿has tenido ahí un lapso raro? ¿No? Vamos a ser buenos. Vamos a hacerle caso.
Yet there was not a single person here
Somos
either.
un descerebrado
Feeling
que
a
sigue
wave of
órdenes.
disbelief,
Somos
Stanley
Stanley.
decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to
Ha
a
puesto una
staircase,
barandilla para que no
Stanley
podamos
walked
bajar para abajo.
upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spelled the code.
Night Shark 1155. Me da que... ¿Cómo era?
Stanley spoke
Sí.
the code. Night Shark 115.
Night
He
Shark
spoke it into the
115.
receiver, right there
Sí, sí,
on the
es lo que estoy
wall.
haciendo. Night Shark 115.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
A ver, yo hablar te estoy hablando. Que estés cogiendo la señal del micro ya es otra cosa.
Okay, fine, you're not gonna do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what
Pues
I
una
had to show
marioneta.
you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to
Pobre.
decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best
Claro, claro.
choice.
Ahí está el tema.
That's all right.
La elección. Pero claro,
I'll wait for you to decide.
para eso necesitas una marioneta, ¿verdad? Narrador.
Take as much time
Y
as
esta
you need.
no va a seguir tus designios más. Bueno, pues hasta aquí, por ahora. ¿Os ha gustado? Si queréis más contenido como este, echadme una mano, ya sabéis. Suscribiros, comentadme qué os ha parecido y recomendad el canal. Cualquier ayuda es bien recibida. También hago directos, por cierto. Tenéis los enlaces en la descripción. Hasta la próxima, buen vicio.